Welcome, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here with you today as we dive into the fascinating topic of leadership in turbulent times. My name is Rosina Preis. I am Competence and Knowledge Manager at EIT Manufacturing East, and I'm going to be your moderator for today. It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Professor Dr. Wolfgang Güttel. He is a full professor of leadership and strategy at TU Wien and also the dean of the TU Wien Academy for Continuing Education. We will hear a few things about that later on. His journey includes teaching and research stints at some of the world's top universities like King's College London, JKU Linz, WU Vienna. And beyond his academic achievements, he has real-world expertise as a management consultant, helping executives sharpen their leadership skills and transform their organizations. In today's webinar, Dr. Güttel will tackle the complex challenge that all companies face of how to achieve short-term success while also securing long-term survival. He will discuss what it means to adopt an ambidextrous approach. We will hear about what that actually means, fancy word, balancing the need for incremental improvements with the pursuit of radical innovation. And these two goals often seem at odds with each other and create a unique set of challenges for leaders. I'm excited to hear about this. He will share practical strategies on how to manage these tensions and blend core business profitability with the innovation needed for new ventures, especially in these unpredictable times. He will walk us through the process of developing radical innovations that can change a company's course. And crucially, we'll learn about the vital role leaders play in mastering this balancing act to gain and sustain a competitive advantage. As always, this webinar isn't a one-way street. We encourage you to ask your questions and share your insights in the Q&A option below. There is a button below where you can submit your questions or your insights. So please do so. You can do this during the presentation, and we will come back to it later and hopefully cover most of them within the hour. So I'm excited for the insights and the practical advice that Dr. Güttel will provide. So without further ado, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Professor Dr. Wolfgang Güttel. Dr. Güttel, we're eager to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you, Rosina, for the nice introduction. Welcome to the journey through strategic change, which is relevant for companies and for leaders as well, in order to deal with turbulent times and the challenges ahead. I'm struggling a bit. Yeah. At the moment, companies face the difficulties that they need to enhance efficiency in their core business, the stable core, that you do not experience any deeper storms. But on the outside, you need to develop sometimes relatively novelties in order to meet the competitive challenge of the future. And you need to balance both. And this is the explanation for Rosina's question, what ambidexterity might mean. And ambidexterity is how companies enhance, on the one hand, efficiency in their core business in order to increase profitability. But on the other hand, they need to facilitate sometimes radical innovation, and this is the journey we will make today. When we take a famous example from Austria, we have the KTM motor bike company, highly successful in their core business, but there are some threats in the future. For example, the sharing concepts might threaten the core business. You can rent a bike instead of buying a bike. There's the transition towards e-mobility. There's also the transition towards autonomous driving, which is easy for cars with 4 wheels, but for bikes, it might be quite difficult to stop immediately when you have just 2 wheels. And other threats as well. So for them, for example, it's a it's a strategy to think about the long-term future, and this long-term future might deviate from their core business in the motorbike industry. And one idea was if we could better understand how we create emotions while driving a bike, by using brain research, for example, we could transfer this kind of knowledge, how to develop emotions, into complete new industries, digital ones, but also classical ones. So better understand what our competitive advantage is in our core business might be the road towards the future business. As we sell bikes, clearly, but we sell emotion on a bike. So better understanding emotions could be an avenue for future business. And balancing both environments is one key challenge for KTM. On the one hand, there's the threat towards efficiency, high inflation rates, increasing salaries. But on the other hand, they need to invest now into the development of future business internally, but also in acquiring other companies. And it might be an easy way out of your core business, but classical examples show how difficult it is for companies to initiate new businesses. And one of the famous examples of digital transformation is from Xerox, the copier company from the 70s. They faced the loss of their patents on copiers, and they had enormous resources. And they said, well, we have our headquarters in New York, but we could initiate radical innovations by setting up a research center, Palo Alto Research Center Park, close to Stanford University, in order to try to find out how we could deal with digital software solutions, hardware solutions. And they hired enormously creative guys, software software developers and computer specialists in order to create the future of IT. But unfortunately, they didn't understand what they developed. They developed the graphical user interface. They developed architectural programming. They developed email communication. It was all there in the 70s, funded by enormous amounts of money from Xerox. But unfortunately, others were able to use their knowledge. Apple, Microsoft, IBM, 3Com. They used the knowledge from Xerox PARC, and they invented, for example, the first PC, this first small computer. You see a picture on that on the right side of the screen, but they failed to bring this computer into market. So innovating radically, it's easy, but commercializing your innovations and to set up a new business, it's quite hard. As you, for example, has to convince your salespeople they should not just sell the conventional business, copiers, for example. In addition, they should also sell PCs, the graphical user interface, for example, as a software solution, but they do not have any understanding, and they just rely often on the conventional business and top management as well. So they failed, but luckily the inventions are there, and the Silicon Valley was developed based on the intellectual capital funded by Xerox. But both survived. PARC is a research center just now, and Xerox is also a surviving company. Sometimes companies try to focus even more on their core business if they experience the threat of their core business. So the steam ships were developed, and classical shipbuilders try to build more masts on ships, like the Thomas W. Lawson is a picture of this ship. but unfortunately, you can't survive or win the competition if new technologies such as artificial intelligence or other newly emerging technologies might threaten your core business. So you need to invest in other opportunities in order to survive. But it's quite hard, as these classical examples show. Mercedes-Benz thought to develop a very small car for European cities in particular, where the space is not there for larger cars. But the frame of reference of their own research and developers more focused on the conventional cars. So they failed to set up an interesting and well-appearing car into market. Then they made the decision to include the Swatch Group into a newly founded company and set the company in France, in Lothringen, to create the space for novelties. But internally, it was impossible for them to develop that. And Steve Ballmer underestimated the potential of the iPhone even a few days before it was presented to market. There's no chance that the iPhone is going to get any significant market share. Making such decision, it's quite hard, but you have your existing frame of reference. You're connected to your production processes, to your mode of decision making, to your corporate culture, to your business model. So there are many factors that keep you into the developing path of your organization. And in particular, if you're successful with your conventional business, it's very hard to create the space for novelties. At the beginning, there's creativity, there's improvisation, a lot of different business models, technologies could emerge. But over time, there's self-reinforcing processes. You focus more on the existing optimization activities to enhance profitability. You reduce the risk for radical innovation, as the uncertainty is that too high sometimes. You have your targets in the conventional business often. So you focus more and more on the conventional business and might end up in a lock-in situation. And this is what we know from past research. At the beginning, there are many opportunities. Opportunity space is quite, it's very large. You can invent novelties and then you have the space to create your business model in any market, whatever. But over time, expectations are more and more clear. You have to deliver. You are embedded in a network of customers, suppliers, network partners, research and development partners. The expectation from financial institutions, expectations from other managers, expectations from employees, customers, and so on. And you narrow your opportunity space more and more. And perhaps sometimes you end up in lock-in situations. And then it's very hard to escape. Nokia is in their mobile device business unit is a classical example. They were in a lock-in situation and had no opportunity to escape, even that they sold the business unit to Microsoft. Was no opportunity to survive. Microsoft failed as well with the mobile device unit of Nokia. All right, this is the case. You have the success trap. The more you invest, you have the learning curve in optimization activities, the higher is the productivity, and this is always an advantage. You earn more money in stabilizing the prices, but if you can reduce the costs, there's an opportunity to enhance profitability. And there's the famous innovator's dilemma. It's more easy to invest in incremental innovations instead of radical innovations. That means you strengthen the core business instead of taking risky innovations into unknown territories where the future might emerge, but it is perceived as too risky, and the the return is uncertain of your money, so return on investment is uncertain. So you remain more and more on your conventional devices, as the Apple iPhone might signalize. But on the other side, just in innovation into complete new businesses is also risky. You might have devices that are not effective, as the Apple example of the Newton might function as an example. It was a great idea. Now we have the iPhone, but during the 90s, it was not working as effectively as users hoped, and it disappeared from market too early sometimes. And sometimes you're not efficient. Your costs are too high, and you can't receive the price you need in order to further elaborate on this business model. And then you have to make the decision to stop this investment, but you do not know how much time you need in order to finally develop your business model or your products. So there's the threat that the failure trap is nearby. You stop too early instead of optimizing your innovation in order to create a powerful business model. However, even established companies are smart, and one colleague, Julian Birkinshaw, investigated large companies over the last 25 years, and in the Global 500 and Fortune 500, he found out that only a few companies disappeared and ended up in a lock-in situation. And one conclusion is they have different business units, and they manage a portfolio of different business units. Some are more or less path dependent and might end up in a lock-in situation, but research and development, joint ventures, accelerators, startup acquisitions might create new business models and new business units for transferring the organization into the future. So if you grow and you develop different business units, they might be, or they are clearly be the path dependent, but you have a portfolio of different business units, and if you try to innovate radically in one domain, you can set up a venture, for example, in order to create the space for novelties, while you balance your other business units in order to be efficient. And this transformation is often very difficult for organization. From the startup to the bureaucratic organization, it's another challenge. But if you have a one-size-fits-all company, as we have often is it the case in mid-sized companies, the transformation to a multi-business unit company, it's a hard job, as you need to develop different strategies and to allow an organizational setup that they can easily in an evolutionary mode meet the demands of the different markets differently. And allowing such a business unit model is the next step in order to survive in companies, even if you grow. What you need on the level of the company, but also on the level of leaders, is dynamic capabilities, meaning you need an observation activity, observing markets, technologies, competitors, clients. What's your sensing device, and what's the scope of your sensing activities? Do you just focus on your industry or your existing technologies, or do you cross the boundaries of your existing business model? Is it just your job as a leader, or do you listen to your team members and they're also in charge in order to sense opportunities and threats in order to react quickly on market or technological changes? Your sensing activities, is it just 1 year ahead, 5 years ahead, 10 years ahead? This is a good opportunity to reflect on your leadership behavior and your sensing activity in your department or team, but also on organizational level. For example, KTM, another example from this motorcycle company, they set up a venture and they initiated a scouting unit in this venture in order to scout on a global scale for new technological trends, for new business models far away from the core business. They might have some relations to motorbikes, but not necessarily. They're quite open for other industries as well. So this is a sensing device for an entire company. It's called peer innovation, as an example. However, there are many ideas, new ideas you receive, perhaps also from your team members. You create constantly, perhaps own ideas for radical innovations or for improvement activities. It's always the question how you make your decisions. It's often a gut feeling decision in order to decide whether or not this innovation is promising. What are the criteria to decide we set up a venture, for example, on company level, or to set up a project for a new radical innovation on department level or your team level, or to set up a project for optimization activities in your team? It's often not that deeply reflected which criteria you make and how you decide on optimization and innovation project. And nevertheless, you need to be successful in the course of transforming your business, providing or receiving any results from a project. So reconfiguring the third part of the dynamic capabilities is there any outcome? Do you have any processes or any activities that you are able to transform the idea, decision on this idea, this project into a real life new product, business model, or optimization activity? And you can reflect on these sensing, seizing, reconfiguring parts of your dynamic capabilities on firm level, but also on your own team or leadership level. How you are aware about creating new opportunities, making decisions whether or not to follow, and to facilitate change processes. And this is the question of the balance between exploration and exploitation. They're competing logics. You exploit the existing capabilities in your core business, but you need to explore novelties, markets, technologies for the future business. And even your leadership behavior is quite different. In exploitation, you can set targets, you know about what's possible. But for creativity, you do not have any idea. You need to facilitate commitment from team members that they are committed to be creative as possible in order to generate new ideas, to pick up new technological trends from the environment, and to set up business models. But where's the balance? You need to be careful with your resources and with your attention. One aspect is you have capabilities in markets, you have capabilities in technologies, and if you just exploit them, you might end up in a success trap if you just serve existing technologies for existing markets. Literature on ambidexterity might sometimes facilitate exploration, but the failure trap is near. You do not have any ideas about the market and any ideas about technologies. 1 out of 100 startups might survive. That means the likelihood is not that high if you combine this kind of ambidexterity. So what's much closer to you could be a market-oriented ambidexterity using existing technologies, for example, Fischer ski and tennis knowledge and capabilities for lightweight products for aviation. And this was the founding story of FACC, an aircraft component supplier out of Fischer ski, a sports company. They used the technologies they invented for the ski business for transferring them into the aviation market, as they recognized that the lack of lightweight products during the early 80s, and from that they served this new market. And the other example is, you know your customers very well. You have a lot of data and information about your customers' needs, and then you could set up a new product. The smart would be an example, or the iPad would serve also as an example. You know, you collect a lot of data about the behavior on the iPhone. They like to read newspapers on the iPhone, but the larger screen would be more favorable. So using this data for developing technology strategically in this iPad direction is a risk minimizing strategy for setting up revenue innovations. So how to set up innovations? There are 4 stages we identified in literature and in our case studies and projects with companies. There's the identity development stage, setting up a new venture for radical novelties, but there's always the pressure to conform to the core business. So it's not allowed to think out of the boundaries, outside of the box, and then you just remain on your core business. For example, I discussed recently with an insurance company. They have a lot of data of health-related data, for example, and they could use this data for innovation and setting up new health care business models, and perhaps a business unit collecting these ideas and formally provide the room for this business model. But it's our identity as an insurance company, and we do not understand and further develop such healthcare related business data. So sometimes it's not allowed to think outside the box of the insurance company. If they think outside the box and they set up a venture, it's the technology development stage. But often they have, similar to the Xerox example, they have many ideas, but you do not know which one is promising. You need to focus your resources on a certain topic, but which one is promising? And from the company, there's the legitimacy pressure towards the core business. What are you doing there in this venture? You do not support the core business. We just invest money for nothing. We do not see any return. Please support us with your knowledge and capabilities in the core business and stop further innovating into new domains. And this is the reason why the third stage is so important, the business model development stage. You need to integrate the markets, customers, for example, in the development process. You need to build a sales unit, you need to build a marketing unit, you sometimes need to build production sites, you need to build IT departments, just focusing on this newly developed business unit. Otherwise, you just need the core organization, and they might not understand your needs, or your needs are completely different. You have different suppliers, you have different customers, you have a different production activities, you need a different HR support, for example. And if in particular the sales function is very critical, you need salespeople understanding your new business and selling them into perhaps completely new markets. If you just need your core organization for that, it's very hard to convince them, as we experienced in some case studies. Xerox is an example. They never tried to develop a business model and entered with the pilot project, for example, a market in order to receive market feedback and further develop their products and business models. Apple, Microsoft, IBM used the knowledge and received market feedbacks and elaborated further on this business models and technologies, and were able to grow significantly. In the last stage, perhaps you could use synergies from your core business. Financial resources are easier to get for an established business. You could use your brand clearly. You could use support units, logistics, IT, HR, for example, if they understand your different needs. In the last stage, perhaps the danger is you do not have resources for realizing synergies, but this is what you can all use for from the core business for further facilitating your radical novelties, but the reverse use of synergies is also possible. So what's necessary, very briefly, in the first stage, you have to overcome the not invented here syndrome, setting up structures and the strategic initiatives far away from the core business that the new identity might emerge. In the second stage, you need to involve early key customers and to learn with them and to overcome the threat of what is the benefit for the core business. And if you have a venture, legal space decoupled from the core business, then novelties might emerge in a much better way. In the next stage, you need to deal with market feedback. You need to transfer the market feedback quickly into new development initiatives to further facilitate the development and execution of your newly developed business unit. It's a company within the company. You need to learn running a multi-business unit company sometimes. And in the last stage, you need to strategically decide on the future development of your new business unit and to profit from synergies. So you need to think strategically when the business model is successful, how to use it in the future. You could either reintegrate the new business unit into the core business and realize synergies in that way. You could use this new business unit as an independent business unit and facilitate the growth of this business unit, or you might remain the venture and the breeding ground as an accelerator for new businesses for the future. And sometimes you could all use all three opportunities strategically at the same time in order running the venture, reintegrated some parts of this new business model or product and let them grow in an independent business unit. What will be in the future? The constant thing will be change, and you need to make your strategic decisions on the development of your organization. There are many new technologies available, in particular from the AI developments. So the balance will be there between your core business and the future business. And I wish you all the best with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Güttel. We have received some questions during your presentation, so I would like to shift from the presentation to a Q&A because some questions have come up. I also have some questions for you. Thank you for explaining the ambidexterity to me now. I kind of understood it now. So for all the others who have not done so yet, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. You can still ask Professor Güttel your questions and we will try to get to them within the hour. So Dr. Güttel, you said that innovating is easy, commercialization is hard. So I think this question would be quite fitting. What are the most common challenges companies face when trying to balance short-term success with long-term innovation, and how can they overcome them? Big question.
Yeah, it's a challenge for strategic decision making. You need to decide on each euro or dollar to invest this money into the core business in order to strengthen the core business, to enhance efficiency, to enter new markets with your core technologies, or to invest the money into completely new developments where you do not know when you receive any return, and you need to facilitate or fund this development process sometimes over many years without any clear feedback. And if you compare project and ideas in the strategy development process, you lack of any integrative criteria. So it's easy to make decisions when you see that there's a good improvement or an immediate improvement in optimizing business processes, for example. But it's very hard to find out is there and how high is the return for a radical innovation. So it's from top to the bottom line. You always need to think on that challenge and paradoxes.
Yeah, and you've talked about IBM, Apple, Mercedes, but how can smaller companies or startups adopt this approach with their very limited resources?
Yeah, startups, it's the opposite way true. They explore, but they need to exploit the business model. Otherwise, they lack of money or further resources. So it's often difficult for startups to stop exploration. Exploration is fun, and they create new ideas, new business models, new technologies, but they need to stop and to replicate the business model into new markets or to profit from the innovations they set up into markets. So it's exploration at the beginning and exploitation. And sometimes you have the entrepreneur, and entrepreneurs need time for further ideas. But the opposite is true. They need time for managing the existing in a better way. It's more easy in the US. You bring them into the stock market, and then other managers might take over and they stabilize the organization and exploit what's there. And the exploration capacity could shift them to another market or to another idea. For other smaller companies, yes, it is very difficult to fund the exploration activities. It could be done in networks, and EIT manufacturing could be a network partner in order to find universities or other companies in order to develop more radical innovations. But you could set up at least some projects, and you should at least use and train your leaders or executives that they are aware about new ideas. So that's the reason why I included this dynamic capability slide. Is it a role component of each executive to be aware of new ideas, to listen to customers, to listen to team members in order picking up ideas for improvements, but also for innovation? And in the next step, you can't realize all these ideas. You realize 1% perhaps. But how careful make you the decision which ideas is promising, and is this idea just an optimization idea? Is it also a growth idea? You need both on different differently in the timeline, and in the third step, transformation, setting up projects. Just make someone or a team of your employees responsible or leaders responsible for further developing this idea, and stepwise you can decide, do we invest again, or is this idea not that promising? But providing them the structure, at least as a project, that they can think differently to the core business. But if you do not allow the space, as you perceive lacking resources, then the future business might not emerge.
So that's one thing, to identify these kind of innovations and projects that you might want to do as a leader, and bringing that up. But what if there is resistance to change in the company? Even if this innovation project is decoupled from the core business, as you said, how can leaders deal with this kind of resistance?
If it's not decoupled from the core business, resistance will immediately emerge. If it's decoupled from the core business, it's more on the higher level, related to top management teams. If some top managers might resist in the top management team against innovation, you need to convince them, or sometimes you need to facilitate a strategy development process or a team development process that they better understand the need, managing both development streams, efficiency and innovation, that they act as a fully integrated top management team. Otherwise, the symbols for the lower levels is that they are not fully behind this innovation project. And you need to symbolize how important this innovation project is with all your managerial attention on that in your talks, in your strategic decision making, visibly explain why this development is necessary. And sometimes we lack of any explanations. For example, when we when companies set up digital transformation projects, they didn't explain why you can use digital technologies for optimizing business processes. And I observed that KTM, Stefan Bierer, the CEO, he said, well, we have the lack of the shortage of labor here in the Upper Austrian region. We need any employee for further developments. Please let us optimize each process in the legal department, in the accounting department, wherever it's possible to get people out of these processes, to reskill them and to use them, that we enable the further growth. This was about 3 or 4 years ago. But explain why this change is necessary and why this development is necessary, and use key people, important people. Do not delegate change activities or radical innovations to lower ranked managers or to juniors. It's a very important task, and it requires all managerial attention possible. Experienced managers, it's a hard business. It's not an easy way to administrate what's there in the core business. It's more challenging indeed, and you need experienced and skilled managers.
Yeah, as you said, I mean, you always need to find your champions in the team, right? To accelerate that kind of thinking, and a proper change management is hard to do, but necessary. Another question we received was you've given some, but what are some practical examples or success stories of companies that have successfully achieved the balance you were talking about?
I think many companies achieved a certain kind of balance between innovation and efficiency. When we take down some automotive companies, for example, managed this transition in a very good way. BMW, for example, they set up for ventures for develop this e-driven cars, i7, i3, and so on, alongside the conventional motorbikes. But one example came immediately, or two examples came immediately into my mind. One is Palfinger, the crane company, about, I think, between 12 and 15,000 employees. And they set up 5 years ago, about 5-6 years ago, a venture. It's called Palfinger 21st, to create new ideas. Then they learned some ideas are more related to the core business, and they set up a business unit, I think 1 year ago, business excellence, as an internal consulting unit, using ideas from the accelerator, transforming these ideas into optimization activities for further improving the core business and the processes there, by implementing new technologies on the one hand. And on the other hand, they carefully learn from one invention to check the pillars of motorway bridges by drones. They learned to set up a complete new business. It's called Drug Inspection as an independent company, and they formally developed this transformation part from exploratory ideas into a business unit or into a market where other companies could also invest, not just Palfinger, but also other companies. And now they have all these three opportunities. The core business clearly, but they learned how to deal with this venture, how to develop business ideas, how to deal with improvement ideas on the one side, how to deal with radical new ideas, setting up new businesses far away from the core business, and using this Palfinger 21st venture accelerator for breeding ground of new ideas. So you have the core business, exploitation, the crane business, but then you have the accelerator, and the accelerator develops different kind of optimization and innovation activities.
Thank you so much. I think we have time for one last question, and I think I'm going to pick this one because it's a nice bow on this Q&A. It is, what future challenges do you foresee for leaders trying to implement innovations and change, and how can you prepare, or how can they prepare for them?
Yeah, the main challenge for leaders is in particular that they are focused on operational tasks. And if times become more and more turbulent, they focus usually more and more on the core business and on their operational activities. What they do not have in mind that intensively is to develop their teams, to develop their team members, and to focus also on strategic ideas, as they lack on any technological devices that they can be focused on large ideas. If, for example, I need to develop my team, I could run an evaluation, and then I say, well, the roles are not clear, the targets are not clear, and the trust is not there. So I pick up three main ideas in order to advance my team, my direct leads. Then I have some more ideas on future projects. For example, 2 ideas on really good, promising projects. And then I conduct my performance reviews with each team member, and then I derived one development goal for each team member. And if I have 10 team members, I have 10 goals, development goals for my team member, one each team member. Then I have, in addition, 3 goals for long-term development of the team. And in addition, I have, for example, 2 long-term promising ideas, strategic ideas. So I have 15 strategic topics, long-term topics on my table, but I'm overwhelmed with operational tasks, and I need to focus on this long-term development target, similar to a football trainer. A football trainer invests, it's European Championships time. They just focus on developing the team member, and developing the strategy. The 100% of their activities is focused on these development activities. In firms, usually it's the opposite. Often 100% of managerial capacity is focused on operational tasks, instead of investing a limited amount of time, 10% of your time, for example, for the development activities of your team, department, each team member, and so on. And this is, I think, the future challenge, in particular in Europe, where entrepreneurship is not that developed in our mindset as it should be as a leader. We are more on the administrative side. Accountability is more important instead of growth.
Yeah, that's true. And we have football on our minds today because Austria is playing tonight, and we're still hoping for a miracle. Unfortunately,
it's hard work. Sina, it's hard work. You have a good leader there with a promising strategy, and he developed a team, and each team member very carefully and created an very intensive contrast to his predecessor.
I believe you. I would not. So unfortunately, we have to end our Q&A section at this point as we're running out of time. But I would also like to quickly and shamelessly plug your book, Successful in Turbulent Times, for everyone who is interested in reading more about this topic. I'm reading it at this moment. And if reading is not enough for you, my colleague already posted a link into the chat that is leading you to the MBA programs from TU Wien ACE. And I would like to also welcome your colleague, Katharina Proker, and give her the opportunity to join us. Hello, Katharina.
Hello.
I know that TU Wien ACE is offering a lot of opportunities for current and future leaders to grow and learn. Can you briefly tell our participants about this?
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity. And Wolfgang put it so nicely, change is constant, right? And learning, therefore, can never stop. And this is really our raison d'être, why we're here. And of course, we have asked ourselves many times the question how we can help organizations and individuals in developing the capabilities they need to succeed in a technology-driven world in the turbulent times we are now. And Wolfgang already briefly talked about the leadership skills that people need. And this is exactly from our experience. We know that leaders, they do need, of course, the management know-how to have decision-making competence in management, but they also need the leadership skills. They need to lead themselves. They need to focus on operational tasks, but not only that, as Wolfgang nicely laid out, they need to find time for strategic questions to develop the team. And the third very important aspect that we find is that leaders nowadays, they need to have a basic understanding of the technologies, the underlying technologies that are shaping our world, that are shaping our business. Otherwise, they cannot succeed in our turbulent times. And all these aspects, we, at least that's what we find are really our unique perspective on the educational programs that we set up. We are so much working, teaching and researching on the interface of management and technology. So really touching all the topics that are relevant today and that we also talked about today. So we have a very broad range of short programs, but also, as you mentioned, executive MBA programs focusing on strategic change, for example, focusing on innovation and entrepreneurship. We have a more general management MBA program if you're not really, if you want a really broad experience. But, and we are very proud of that, we have our newest MBA program in collaboration with Caltech, the California Institute of Technology, which is our new flagship program and which has just started for the very first time. So I think we really have all the continuous learning experiences and topics set up for anyone interested in growing personally, but also professionally. The next chance to join is in fall, of course. So if anyone from the participants today or your employees are interested, feel free to reach out to Rosina or to us. We're very happy to present the programs in detail to really help you how we can upskill you, your employees, to be a future fit.
Thank you so much, Katharina. It sounds like a great opportunity to keep learning and to become more resilient in turbulent times. I love this word, turbulent times. So for our participants, please don't be shy and approach us with your questions if you want to learn more about these programs or if you're interested in attending. As we draw this webinar to a close, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to our speaker, Professor Dr. Wolfgang Güttel, for sharing his expertise with us today. It was deeply insightful. Thank you so much. And once again, thank you to the participants for joining us today. I wish you all continued success and growth in your endeavors. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. All the best.